morning, folks. I got another project to do here today. I'm headed out to go get a polisher, concrete polisher, and we're going to polish the concrete floor, prep it so I can resurface it with some clear coating or something, or just get the stains up. There's stains everywhere and it looks horrible. So this is the chance to go and take care of that myself. So I'm going to do the work today. I'll show you guys how I set it all up and everything, and do the polishing. It's actually the first time I've ever done this. I don't know how it's going to work out. I've sanded floors before, and I know how the floor sanding machine works. You know, a few times waxing stuff with a waxer, but this is a little different. That it's going to be a grinding operation. So I'm getting the grinder. It's like a light prep polisher, floor polisher. It has a water tank on it. It's all electric, so we can plug it in. I don't have to run anything. It's gas powered. It weighs about 90 pounds. So I'm figuring that I can lift it myself if we need to, move it around. And then I have to rent a wheel. It's a special wheel that goes with that. So the rental is about $60 for the day for the polisher, but the little wheel that you put on there, they want $90 for that. And I'm hoping I don't have to get an extension cord, because sometimes when you rent these large pieces of equipment, they make you rent an extension cord with it, and that's something I already own is an extension cord, except for their 16 gauge, and 50-foot 16 gauge cord can burn up a motor if it's a big one. So I think 2 horsepower, you got to have a 14 or 12 gauge cable for that. But hopefully for this one, it's a 1.5 horsepower. So I'm thinking that it'll do the job nicely with just the extension cord that I already own, that I don't have to buy or rent, to have something that's unnecessary cost involved in that. But anytime you rent the stuff, you're always got extra costs. So if I do the rental, I'm going to take it back later on this evening, and the 3-hour and the day rental is the same. So I just keep it all day, and I'll take it back later today, and it'll be 60 for the polisher, 90 for the machine. And then I've also got I put on the insurance thing on there for the polisher, so that if it breaks down, I won't have any issues with it. So probably $175 to rent the equipment, and then we've got I believe maybe about 4 hours work. Okay, well, so picked up the rental. A little bit more than I thought it was going to be. Turned out that it was $183, and it came with a large extension cord too. So I was right about the extension cord, but I didn't have to rent it, so I was kind of happy about that. But anyway, so we're going to head home and get started on our concrete prepping operation. Okay, hey, we're back at the house, and I've got the driveway pretty well cleared out of all the equipment that was here. I moved everything, the golf cart and the trash cans and Cathie's enclosure. She had a trash enclosure that she put up. But I've moved that in preparation for doing the grinding work on the concrete. So I'm going to be demonstrating how that works, and then I'll show you how long it takes. I watched some videos on this, and one guy spent 8 hours polishing a surface that's about the size of what we're doing here. And I'm hoping to have it done in 4 hours or less. So being efficient, working fast, and trying to economize the time as best as possible. I'm going to try and get this done quickly. So I'm going to demonstrate how I do the how I'm going to do the grinding, and then you can watch that. So that'll be the next step. But for right now, I'll show you the equipment. Okay, so here's the tool that I rented from the Home Depot. And I went ahead and got the one with the water tank because I just want to do this wet. and I don't want to have a lot of dust. So my main goal with the water tank is to make sure that we don't have we're not going to generate a lot of dust, because we don't need that floating around in the area here. And it came with this, I had to rent the extra wheel, but this is this is what we'll use for the grinding operation. It's diamond tipped, or yeah, it looks like it has diamonds on it. Diamond tipped wheel. It's very expensive to rent. $90 just for that for a day. And I imagine it's because it doesn't last for very long. And then of course this tool here, and what we'll have to do is we're gonna put that on here. We're gonna have to attach that to the bottom here, but that shouldn't be too hard. I think it just slides on there. You twist it a little bit, and you're on. And then we'll get it all set up with some water and start grinding. Probably in the back there. Okay, so I've been working for 40 minutes now, and I'm going to take a break because this is really hard work. But I want to show you what we've done so far, and we'll come back out and see how it looks and see if I have to hit some spots a second time. But 40 minutes and probably about a quarter of the way done. So we'll see how it goes. I'm gonna take a break. Okay, so here's where we're at so far. I stopped here at this line. This is the difference between our concrete and the park's concrete. So the park owns all this concrete, but they refuse to fix it because it isn't cracked. But it looks terrible, and it's really rough. So we're hoping this will solve some of those problems. But here's the spot that I've done so far. It looks good wet. We'll see what it looks like when it's dry. I missed a few of the paint spots that we wanted to get picked up. There's an area back here that's a little rough, but I don't think I'm going to come back here and do it again because that was a tough job working back here. That was where I started, and it was really, really difficult running that machine. So I don't know if I want to come back here and clean this stuff up like that. We'll have to see what it looks like when it's dry, because that's what we'll mostly see is just dry concrete. Okay, so there it is. There's the beast. It's going back. I'm taking it back to the Home Depot. It's going back now today. I'm done with it. I don't really want to touch that thing again. Anybody asked me to do this for them, I'd say probably no. We were off to the Home Depot. So I'm going to take the beast machine out back to its home, drop it off. Well, that was uneventful. I mean, other than the guy was a little snippy, wouldn't open the door for me. I had to walk all the way around to get into the tool department. And then I get there and I said, well, what's with the door the buzzer doesn't work. He goes, well, no, the door doesn't work. Buzzer works. Door doesn't work. You know, it's like, okay, so you're just going to leave me out there ringing the doorbell, you know? There he is, the customer's ringing the doorbell. You should put a sign up that says the buzzer doesn't work, or the door doesn't work. Don't bother with the buzzer. And then he asked, how did it work? And I said, well, I think having that tank on there was a waste of time. And I said, it made it really hard to handle. And he goes, oh yeah, these things can get away from you, especially if you're doing concrete. This is the end of this video. And I hope you enjoyed me struggling to clean that concrete floor, that concrete driveway. I didn't really get good pictures at the end, so I apologize for that. We did have a big mess from washing the driveway off. It went down the end of the street and then crossed the street and the little gutter there, and people were driving across it. So our nice black, recently finished streets were covered with white cement. And so I had to go around and clean that all up and mop it up. So I got my golf cart out and drove around and mopped up the mess. But I'll tell you, that was a tough job. It was one of the hardest jobs I've had to do in a long time. Now, again, this was the first time I've used the floor polisher with a grinder wheel on it. And what I experienced was I wanted to do it according to the Home Depot website. You know, I'm using the diamond wheel, so I'm etching the surface or grinding the surface with this polisher using this diamond wheel. And they recommended having a water tank with that. So with the water tank, you could let the water out from the tank, but the tank was really heavy. So when you're leaning back a little bit on the polisher and you're holding the water up, you know, that's 35, 40 pounds of weight probably in that tank that you got to carry. And then you got this thing moving back and forth like this. And it doesn't react the way that you would think it would do. It's kind of the opposite. So if you lean it this way, it wants to go that way. You lean it this way, it'll go this direction. And if you get up on it a little bit, it just starts going all over the place. And there is a sweet spot, and you can actually find the sweet spot if it's not going back and forth on you, and you know you're straining your muscles. And for me, I ended up injuring my foot from using the machine. I mean, at the end of the day, I was calling it a beast because I was so wore out from it. And but it worked. You know, they did clean our driveway. Cathie was really happy with the results, and so we took about probably 1/8 of an inch off the surface, and it was a real rough pour when they built this driveway 40 years ago or whatever. They poured the concrete. It must have been a little wet or something, and they went to finish it, broom finish, and it's just got so much aggregate sticking up, you know, sand and stuff in the finish. It was, you can't walk on it barefoot. Well, now you probably could. But at the time, before I did the grinding, it wasn't usable. And then the other thing too is I think had I had a little instruction from the Home Depot on how to start it. So what I would recommend that if you're going to use a machine like that, get in a wide open area and test it and try to figure out how you're going to operate the thing. And maybe start it on a dry surface, because when you do the wet one, it builds up a slurry and it starts to grip. so it kind of becomes a mud, and it's very slippery, so you're walking and you're slipping, and this thing's going all over the place. And I mean, it was a real struggle to operate that. And then probably after a couple hours, I kind of got the hang of it. But man, I caught a couple things, and they were protruding out of the ground. One was the door wheel roller where my storage unit was at, so that was sticking out. And when the spinning disc came around, it caught that and then ripped it out of my hands. And boy, it had me spun around in a whole circle at one point. And I didn't get that on camera, but I'll tell you what, it scared me. It was pretty frightening. And, you know, I mean, I'm just trying to warn you, you know, if you're going to do this, it's not an easy job. But after you get a hang of it, it's not so bad. And then what I found was that I could mix throw a little sand in there to kind of give it a little friction, you know, buffer, so it wasn't sticking so hard to the surfaces. And that kind of helped. And I still got the same results. Plus I was able to keep the moisture on there to keep the dust down, because we don't want the dust blowing all over the place either. So that was the other thing. But I think if I was to do this again, I wouldn't rent the polisher with a tank on it. I just go for the cheap one that didn't have a tank. Maybe it's a little bit smaller or something. I mean, it looked identical, except for the one that I rented had this big water tank on it. And that I probably could have done without and just used the hose and sprayed water on the ground. That would have probably worked out great. But other than that, a little bit of a struggle, you know, and sometimes these power tools are like that, you know. You rent a chainsaw or something, you have to be careful. It's going to be a dangerous thing to operate. So try to get a little experience at it and just go for it. But I would do it, you know, I wouldn't do it for somebody if they asked me to do that. I would do it for myself if I wanted to have a driveway like that needed to be cleaned. Now where we live in a mobile home park, and we rent the space that we're on. So we own the home. So this is my home. My wife and I own it. As far as like doing the cleaning and everything, we try to get them to replace the driveway, and they said I wouldn't do it because it wasn't cracked. But it looked terrible. I mean, this was a mess with the years and years of staining and everything. And so I just took it upon myself to clean it. So it was a drastic measure. I could have probably done a couple of other things, acid etched it, or, you know, we've tried power washing it. It wouldn't clean with a power washer, but there are some chemicals that you can put on there. But then you're dealing with the same thing with the chemicals. You got to, you know, dispose of that stuff. How are you going to get rid of it? And so it is a dirty job, and you know, you just got to be careful. And even I put out like little filters. I took towels and rolled them up, and then wherever the water drained out, I would capture the sediment there. And I got most of the sediment, but some of it was just in the water. It was just too fine of a mixture, so that ended up at the bottom of our hill. So it ran down the gutter and across the street, and then when anybody drove their car across, they would catch on their tires. So you had tire marks all over. It looked like somebody painted had spilled paint in the street, and then the cars drove on it. But fortunately, that wasn't the case. But I was probably up till 6 or so out there cleaning, you know, a couple hours of cleaning for sure. And that was a little bit of a frustration. But other than that, I think the results were excellent. So anyways, so that's enough of that video. You know, I hope to do some more of the things that we do around here as far as, you know, taking care of our mobile home and stuff. So this was just one of the videos I'm doing about that. And if you liked it, you know, like button, don't forget. And that helps, you know, just all you got to do is just hit that like button once, and it'll just help us tremendously. If you didn't like it, try the subscribing, because when you subscribe, you'll get a notice of when the next video comes up, and you might like that one better. So, you know, if this is something that's interesting to you, especially if you're interested in living in a mobile home park or as a retirement in North County of San Diego, you know, you want to learn some stuff about
how other people are doing it now. Um, we were on a fixed income, so I mean it's just a couple of us. So I mean we're semi-retired, my wife and I, and we manage, and we're still able to live here in a beautiful home, and it's just been great. It's one of the best things I've done, and I would highly recommend it to somebody that can deal with some of the local stuff. There is politics of living in the park, and you do have management you have to deal with. And, I don't know what to say about that. We've had some issues, but, I think everybody has. And it's not, it's just something you just live with. You learn to live with it. It's just part of life. It'd be the same if you lived in an apartment complex, so it's just a different way of living, and it's not for everybody. So if you're wanting to save money and still live near the beach and have a great community. I mean, this is probably one of the best communities we could possibly live in. We're going to go to a happy hour tonight, and there'll probably be 30 or 40 people there from the park that'll go to the happy hour, and it's a free event. They have it up at the clubhouse, so that's something that we can do. And then next week we're going to have a band, so there'll be a live band playing. That'll be a lot of fun. And then of course we got all the different events that are planned here for the park. 4th of July and some other stuff in the summer here. So, anyways, that's going to be it. So, I hope you enjoyed the movie, and I'll look forward to seeing you on the next one. So, this is going to be Ron. So, bye.